Okay, can you hear me? Oh, first of all, I would like to say I'm sorry for a little bit being late because here I've got a connection problems. It is raining heavily now. So today, before we begin our Dhamma talk, let us pay respect to the triple gems by reciting the verse Namo Tassa for 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. So today, before I begin the Dhamma talks, I would like to introduce about myself a little bit. I am Reverend Ariya, currently living in southern part of Myanmar called Mon State. I am a lecturer here in this temple, in our local temple, for the Brigadier learning, that is Buddhist studies for Buddhist monks and novices in the local temples. And I also teach English to the local students here. Okay. Today, the title of the Dhamma talks that I would like to share with you today is exploring the root conflicts from Buddhist sources. When we talk about the conflicts, we can find it very relevant to the teachings of the Buddhas. No matter what, whether it is external conflicts or internal conflicts, we can find it very relevant to the teachings of the Buddha. As some of you may have known, the core teachings or the central teachings of the Buddhas is the doctrines or the teachings of Four Noble Truths. In this teaching, particularly as the first Noble Truth, the Buddha point out the problems of the world, which is known as dukkha. As the first Noble Truth, the Buddha points out the problems, or in other words, the conflicts, which is happening in the world all the times. And as you may know, the second noble truth is about the roots or the cause of the suffering or dukkha. And the third noble truth is about nirvana, the state where we can be liberated from the problem of suffering. And the third noble truth is about the path, the ways to reach the ultimate goals, which is called nibbana, or the state which is completely free from suffering. So, in this teaching of the Four Noble Truths, is that the main focus of the Buddha in delivering his teaching is to show us that there is a problems in this world, there is a conflict in this world, there is suffering in this world. And then this suffering or dukkha or conflict arises out of condition or causes. From these teachings, we also come to know that everything in the world arises depending on its relevant causes. Without causes, nothing which can arise or happen. The main the Buddhist of the Buddha's teaching is to find out the problems, and to find a way how to eradicate the problems, how to get rid of the problems. For this reason, in the Buddhist treatises, which is known as Three Pitaka, Three Bhaskas, we can find many suttas or many discourses of the Buddha which talks about the eradicating the problems, analyzing the problems, pointing out the problems. So here in this Dhamma talks, I would like to talk about specifically about the conflicts. So when we say the conflicts, primarily we can classify them into two kinds of conflicts, that is internal conflicts and external conflicts. It is true that most of the Buddhist teachings or the Buddha's discourses pay much attention on solving the internal conflicts. But this does not mean the Buddha completely neglected the external conflicts. In one of the suttas in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha admits that there are two kinds of conflicts. That one is internal conflicts and another one is external conflicts. So, in case you may ask, why the Buddhist teachings or the Buddha's discourses focus more on internet conflicts, the answer could be everything that we do, that we say, initially is initially prompted by our mind. Prompted by our thought, our mind, we do our bodily action. And again, prompted by our thoughts, our mind, we do our verbal action or speech. So when we consider about this, the source of this activity, whether it is physically or bodily or verbally, it is rooted in our mind. Therefore, when we are dealing with the problems without grasping the roots of the problem, it is almost impossible to completely eradicate the problems. Therefore, here the Buddhas, when talking about the conflicts or when talking about other problems in the world, the Buddha tended to strike right into the root of the problem or the conflicts. Therefore, in the Buddhist teaching or the Buddha's discourses, we may see quite often that the Buddha go deep into the roots of the problem, that it internally. That is why in the Buddha's discourses we see many forecasts, more forecasts are given to the internal conflicts. So in today's Dhamma's talk, although there are two kinds of problems, two kinds of conflicts, internal and external, here I also would like to focus on internal conflicts. So in the Digha Nikaya Mahanidana Sutta, the Buddha mainly talks about the doctrines of Paticca Samuppada. The doctrines of Paticca Samuppada basically means the doctrines of cause and effects. As we have said earlier, everything in the world arises out of conditions and relevant causes. So in this sutta particularly, the Buddha talks about the doctrines of Paticca Samuppada widely and in the manner of very detailed information. So from this suttas, when discussing about the link between the feeling and craving, vedana paccaya tanha, particularly when discussing, elaborating about these links, the Buddha says, Vedanang paticca tanha. That means depending on feeling, craving arises. So basically, we have three kinds of feeling: pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. Whatever kinds of the feeling it may be, craving or tanha can arise from our feeling. If the feeling is good, craving for sensual pleasures arises. If the feeling is unpleasant, craving for unhappening, which is known as vipava tanha, arises. So whatever feeling it may be, it may happen, depending on the feeling, tanha can arise, the Buddha says. And what is more interesting is the Buddha did not stop here. He continued to say, Tanhang paticca priyesana. Because of our craving, because there is craving in our mind, priyesana, seeking, trying to get this thing arise. To put it in a simple language, if we want something, we try to get it, we seek it, we try in any possible way to get it. This is a kind of nature in our mind. But the Buddha sees this nature, not just see it, he sees it completely with its cause and with its effect. The cause is tanha, craving, and the effect becomes priyesana. Priyesana means seeking. And then again, from seeking, priyesanang paticca labho. From seeking, because we try to get it, sometimes we get it. Labho, acquisition, accumulation. Depending on seeking, acquisition arise. Because we try to get it, we get it. To put it in the simple language. And then again, labhang paticca vinichayo. Out of acquisition, depending on acquisition, ascertainment arises. That means we check it. The things that we have, whether it is good or bad, we check it. After we check it, we know this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. That is called vinichaya. In English, we may say ascertainment. To make it sure which one is good, which one is bad. And from this, vinichayang paticca chanda rago. From ascertainment, our desire, our passion arises. For example, after we get the things, we check it. This one is good, this one is bad. We want to remove, we want to keep out the bad thing, and we want to keep the good thing with us. This nature is called desire or passion. And then again, from this chanda rago, chanda ragang patija, achosanam. Achosanam means our attachment. We become attached to the things that we possess, that we have. We mentally become attached to the things that we have. Attachment. From this, achosanam patija parikaho. Parikaho means possessiveness. From that, we possess the things that we have tried to get it. We become the owner. We become the possessors. After we possess the things, Regahang Vatija Machariyang. Here comes the start of the problems, the start of the conflicts. Because we own the thing, we possess the thing, and then the concept in our mind is this is my thing, this is my house, this is my shop, this is my phone, this is my car. The concept of mine arises. Because of these concepts, the stinginess material arises. Why? Because this is our property, this is our car, this is our house. Normally, we don't want to share it with other people. We don't want to share it. That is our stinginess. This is the nature of our mind that you can find in everybody's in this world. Because of this stinginess, again, here comes arakang, arako. Machariyang butija arako. We have to protect it. Protection or defensiveness. Because this is our own, this is our property, something is our property, we feel we are responsible to protect it from any kind of danger from external sources. For example, you have a house. That means you are responsible to protect your house. If someone comes to do any damage to your house, you protect it in any possible way. Because of this protection, again, arakatikaranam, tanda dana, sattha dana, kalaha, wikeha, vivada, tuwang. Pesunya Musawada Aneka Papaga Akusala Tama Sampawandi. Because of this protection, because of this defensiveness, the actions such as taking up the stakes and knives to protect our properties, conflicts, the quarrels, the disputes, the accusation, lying, decisive speech, etc. All these evil things comes into being. So this is what the Buddha said in Nidana Sutta. So when we consider these teachings of the Buddha, it is really true to the situation that is happening in the world right now. So why I'm talking about this sutta is in order to give more information on the teachings of Second Noble Truth. Because in the Second Noble Truth, you have learned that the root of all suffering in this world is tanha, craving. So the Buddha pointed out to the very deeply into the roots of the problems. But we do not see the problem arises directly from our desire, from our craving, but from craving and step by step, how it leads to the problems or conflict in this world. If you want to see in detail, you should study about this sutta, Mahanidana Sutta. This is found in the Digha Nikaya. This sutta is very elaborated on the teachings of especially Paticca Samuppada. So in summary, from the viewpoint of the Buddhas, any kinds of conflicts, whether it is internally or externally, originally is started from inside. To strike deep into the very root of the problem, it is our craving. But from craving, step by step, we see from craving we got like seeking, acquisition, and attachment. From attachment, we got stinginess, and then from stinginess, we got protection. From protection, when someone come to maybe destroy or harm our properties, our things, our possession, then the problem arises. But when we analyze the problem, we see when we just merely look at the problem, we see the problem arise because, for example, someone come to take your property and you try to protect your property and the problem arises. So in the basic level, you see such a problem arise because of such things. But the Buddha go deeper than this by going into the very root of the problem, that is craving. But the most nearest root or cause of the problem is stinginess and our sense of protection. So this is the roots of the problems, the roots of the conflicts according to the Buddha's teaching. And not only these suttas, these Mahanidana suttas, there is also another sutta in which the Buddhas analyzed the roots of the problems. Another sutta is called Sakkapanya Sutta. It is also in the Digha. In this sutta, one of the divine beings asked the Buddha, so after observing the situation in our world, including the divine world, Deva world, he saw that divine being. He saw that people with people conflicting each other every day on different contexts, on different reason. So why this is happening in this world? He asked the Buddha. Here the Buddha gave a very specific and the nearest cause of the problem. He says the nearest cause of the conflict of the problem are two. We got two things as the nearest cause. One is Issa and another one is Macharya. Issa means envious. Macharya means stinginess. Think about our day-to-day life now. For example, you have something, you own something, you got your car, you got your house, you got your car. Because you got a sense of responsibility. That means because this is my house, I am responsible to protect it, to repair it, to renovate it, to keep it clean, to keep it well. This is my responsible. When someone come to harm you, or when someone come to destroy your property, your house, again you got a responsible. You feel responsible to protect it. That means in the very deep level of your mind, the nature of stinginess exists. Because of this nature, we feel that we are responsible. And on the other side, for example, sometimes other people may get prosperous, maybe successful in something, and sometimes that person is not good to you. You don't like that person. When the person that you don't like becomes successful in something, normally people become envious toward that person. You don't like him or her being successful. You always wish or want that person to be ruined or to be damaged, to be destroyed. So this kind of mindset is called envious. Envy. It is called in Bali Issa. So this two kind of attitude, which is deep rooted in our mind, is the nearest reason or cause for conflict to arise in this world. This is the direct answer that the Buddha gives to one of the divine beings in the Sakkapanya Sutta. So, when we consider the situation that is happening in this world right now, I think the discourse of the Buddhas regarding this issue is completely true. If we are honest to ourselves, whether we want to accept it or not, this is the true situation that is happening. And then in today's world, almost every day, the conflict arises in different corners of the world. Even here in our country, Myanmar also, we see many conflicts socially, politically, not to mention about the other parts of the world. And when the conflict arise, people in the world do not are also trying to solve the problem in different ways. They are trying very hard to solve the problem. But mostly, they are trying to solve the problem externally, because we can see the external problems, so we try to solve it. It is like we are trying to amend our leaking roof. We see in this point our roof is leaking and we try to amend it, and then after that here comes another pole leaking, and we try to amend that. It becomes like this. Although the leaders today are trying very hard to solve the problems, new problems keep arising every day. Sometimes we haven't finished trying this problem, another problem would arise. Why it is happening so? Because we look over the internal problems which lies deep into the gross level of our mind. That is why at the beginning of this Dhamma talk, I point out that the Buddha, when trying to solve the problems, he went deep into the very root of the problems that which exist in the subtle level of our mind. So when our sense of stinginess and our sense of envy becomes stronger in our mind. This sensation, this mindset, these attitudes tend to create problems or conflicts with our surrounding environment or people. Just like we feel that we are responsible to protect our property, our wealth, other people also feel so. They would feel they are responsible to protect their properties. So when we go and harm or affect their well-being, then the conflict between us and them arise. So this is one viewpoint of the Buddha, one perspective of the Buddha in analyzing the roots of the problem. So there are many suttas in the Buddha discourses which talk about the problem from another perspective, from different perspective. For example, in the Majjhima Nikaya, you got Madhuvindika Sutta. The Buddha tried to analyze the problem from different angle, different perspective. That is why in our Buddhist tradition, after we do any meritorious deed, any good deeds, for example, we give dana, we preserve sila, we develop meditation, we do meditation. After that, what do we do? There is a special section in this process of doing meritorious deeds. That is the tradition of sharing our meritorious deeds. Even though it is our own deeds, our own meritorious deed, that means our kusala, our punya. We should not attach to it. This is my own merit. This is my own meritorious deeds. I can do this. Other people cannot do this. We should not be so attached to our own deeds. That is why we have a tradition of sharing our merit. Even though it has become our own merit, we try to share it with others. By sharing our own properties or our own merits, on the other hand, we are gradually reducing our attitudes of stinginess. Actually, this is the essence of the tradition of sharing our merit. Therefore, I would say this is very good tradition in our Buddhist country. When our attachment, our desire, our craving, or our stinginess become weaker and weaker, On, on the other hand, we can develop the practice of being patient into our mind, particularly if we have less stinginess. We become less angry. So by this tradition, we are trying to reduce our toxic mindset lying deep within our subtle mind practically. So as a conclusion, of our Dhamma talks today, even though in the teachings of the Buddha, which is known as the Four Noble Truths, we find the very roots of the suffering or dukkha as craving. In terms of working in order to create suffering to the world, in the world, it is not just craving. Craving is the main, the source, the root. But from craving, we see step by step. From craving, we got seeking, we got acquisition, we got ascertainment, we got design, we got attachment, we got possessiveness, we got stinginess, we got defensiveness. All these things are collaborating together in order to create conflict or suffering in this world. So this is the gist of the Dhamma talk today. Okay, thank you very much.